All right, I'll go ahead and get started. Thank you and hello to everyone joining us this evening. I'm Matt Craven Keenan. I'm the Director of Outreach for the College of Health and Human Performance. Tonight we are discussing our BSW degree, Bachelor's of Social Work. Tonight we have Miss Peyton Fisher, who is a current BSW student. She's a senior here. And we have Dr. Schwartz, who is our BSW program coordinator. And then we have Courtney from ECU admissions. So guys, this is actually like pretty laid back. You probably heard some of the conversation that we were just having. So feel free to, unmute yourself, turn on your camera if you want to, feel comfortable to. You do not have to. You can put questions in the chat, but with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Schwartz.
Okay, great. I am going to share my screen. I have a little talk. If you want a copy of this, give us a shout. We'll do it. If questions come up while I'm doing this little presentation, interrupt. It's perfectly fine. I don't think I'll be able to see the chat. So if one of y'all can just be like, hey, there's a question. Because sometimes things get a little funky when I share this. So please don't be shy. And let me, okay, can y'all see that? Let me make it a little bit bigger though, right? Is that too small?
No, I think it's good.
Okay, great. Okay, so great to have everybody here. Again, questions, just bring them on over. Okay, so first of all, what is social work? So the fact that you sign up for this means that you probably have even a little bit of an idea or you want to know more, you're interested. And so the first thing is service. Okay, at various levels. We call them micro, macro, micro, meso, and macro levels. So individuals is more micro, families and groups is meso, and organizations and communities is macro practice. And you're working with people at these various levels. Oftentimes, you might think of social workers as therapists who provide counseling or case management, and that is absolutely true. But there are other things that social workers do. We do advocacy work, we're community organizers, program planners, policymakers. For example, my training and background is more in macro practice. So I'm really interested in healthcare policy and research, program development. But the goal is to help bring about social change and social justice. So if you are interested in that, then this could be the major for you. Skills to have and develop. So I say and develop because maybe you don't necessarily have the best skills in some of these areas. Maybe you do, but either way, as human beings, we're always going to grow and develop, right? So I won't read all of them to you, but I'll read the ones that often come up in conversations with students. So communication skills. We really stress in the program, and we practice this as well. You have to be able to listen and understand what your client's needs are, but not just verbally, but also in writing. So in our program, for example, we stress communication is important with each other as students, with your faculty, but also even when you're sending an email. It should be professional, okay, and clear so that whoever's receiving it, they get what you're saying. So, I've gotten emails in the past that say, hey, you, and I'm like, let's try that again. Okay. Interpersonal skills. Are you a people person? Do you like people? Organizational skills. So as a social worker, and this relates to time management, as a social worker, you do a lot of different things. So let's say you're a therapist. You're not just doing or providing therapy to clients. There are other things and duties associated with that role. So you need to be able to do a lot at once, manage your time, but also stay on top of things, right? To make sure that you're getting it done well. Oh, teamwork. I highlighted that because as Peyton will tell you, Teamwork in the profession is essential, and we do a lot of teamwork, group work type stuff in the program. Okay, so jobs are important, right? That's a big reason why you choose to go to college. So these are just some examples of the kind of work that you can do with your BSW degree. The major takeaway from this is that we're everywhere. So wherever people need help, social workers are there. Okay. And they might be in the places that you least expect. They might be in libraries. They might be in the sheriff's office. Okay. You think about our communities within our region, which they're mostly primarily rural. And so, where are the places that social workers might be where they can help in those areas? Libraries are a good example of that. We see more and more of that because they're mostly accessible, usually by residents, even those in rural settings. So, any questions so far? I see Ms. Mack is checking the chat. Okay. Now, in addition to job and the diversity of jobs, so this is a very versatile degree. So, it's not like you're only going to get one kind of job. And if you start being, let's say, a caseworker for Child Protective Services, you might say after a while, I want to switch jobs. I've had an interesting experience. I'm ready to move on. And you can do that with a social work degree. But what about, can you pay your bills? Okay, that's important too. So this data that's here is based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. It looks like I visited it on 2022. And first, let's look at projected job openings, because you want to pick a major where you can actually fill a need and that there will be opportunities for applying for positions. So that's not an issue in social work. We have a lot of projected growth compared to other occupations. 9% might not seem like a lot, but it is. So you could see this is approximating about 75,000 openings a year on average over the decade. And then, growth varies by specialization. So what do I mean? So I'm a gerontologist, so I'm focused on older adults and families. Well, guess what? There's more and more jobs focused on aging because there's more and more older people, right? So, there might be additional jobs based on what you focus on. Now, one of the things that I tell BSW students is if you don't know what specialization you want to focus on, and you're worried about that, that's okay. You don't have to minor in anything. You don't have to do our school social work program. Your BSW is versatile enough that you can not focus on a specific area. Now, money. So you can see there's a big range here, right? So the top 10% could be greater than 82,000. Not bad. The bottom 10% can be less than 36,000. Now I put the median in there because when you have the top salary and the bottom salary, they're kind of at extreme poles, right? So an average doesn't quite capture what's going on in between. So the median salary is about 50,000. This will vary based on where you're located in the country because of cost of living. It will also be based on and vary based on what level social worker you are. So there are different levels that are based on your experience. So there's some variation there. Questions about any of that? Okay. So professional conduct. We are professionals. And what does that mean? Well, we have a lot of guidance, so we're pretty lucky. We have the National Association of Social Workers, socialworkers.org. If you're not sure about the social work profession, in addition to reaching out to me or other people you may know who are social workers to learn more, go to this website because they have information for students They have information about different areas of social work. It's really, really helpful. They also have our code of ethics. So if you are practicing social work and there's a situation that arises with a colleague or with a client and you're not sure to handle it, in addition to talking with whoever your supervisor might be, we have a code of ethics that provides us guidance about how to deal with that. And NASW provides that code of ethics. Okay. The Council on Social Work Education. So that is our accrediting body. That is the organization that says we are an accredited BSW program. Okay. We educate you based on the competencies that are provided through the Council on Social Work Education. Competency 1, guess what? Professional and ethical behavior. Okay. And each of these competencies is embedded with all of the classes that you take. So by the time you graduate, you will have been trained in these different areas. Technical standards for professional and ethical behavior are something that we have in the School of Social Work. They're very similar to the Council on Social Work Education competencies. Professionalism is one of them. For example, if you Google ECU BSW program, it'll bring you to our BSW page. And in there is our student handbook. And if you click the handbook and you go to the table of contents, you'll see technical standards for professional behavior as an appendix. And then you can go to the appendix and actually read what the technical standards are. So as students in our program, we expect that you will adhere to and work on these areas. And we get that it's work and that it's growth, and we're there with you to help you move through that process. Internships. This is probably one of the biggest areas of questions that people have. So we're really lucky in the School of Social Work because we have an Office of Field Education. And these 3 wonderful ladies are responsible for placing every single BSW student, as well as every single MSW student, because we also have a graduate program, into their field placement. Now, BSW students do their field placements in your final year in the spring, right before you graduate. So the idea is you take everything that you've learned along the way, and then you get to apply it while in your field placement. So you're basically practicing as a social worker. These are some examples of field placements or internships that BSW students have been in. There is a much longer list. This just gives you an idea, but students, and hear me out, students do not get to choose their placement. So you're not going to reach out to the health department and say, hey, will you take me on as an intern? Or somewhere else. These ladies will work with you. So you actually complete an application, okay, and provide them with some information. They set up a date and time to meet with you, and you talk. It's almost like a mock job interview in some ways. So that's part of professionalism, right? And preparing you. And then based on your conversation, they'll take that information and then seek an internship opportunity for you. So we're really lucky. And this is Ms. Gaskins on the left. She is the director. The assistant director is Ms. Jason Gay. She's in the middle. And Ms. Mayo is a field coordinator and instructor. There's usually a lot of questions about internships, but if you don't think of any just yet, that's okay. There is a pre-field class, but that's not what it's called. Is it called pre-field capstone, Peyton? Yeah. So yeah, she gave me a thumbs up. So, and that class you take the semester before you start your internship. So they even prepare you to get ready for your internship because we're really invested in you being the best social worker that you can be. Okay, student experience. So this is an important part of everyone's college experience. So tons of student orgs at ECU. I know some people that RSVP'd are at ECU currently, and we also have some high school students. But just to be aware, there are student organizations that are also housed within the School of Social Work. So we have the Bachelor of Social Work it should say Student Association, and that's all BSW students as well as students who aren't in the BSW program but are interested in doing community service and other types of activities that benefit Greenville and the university communities. We have an honor society chapter. We also have people helping the aging community thrive. Guess what that's about? Doing things for older people in the community, and I co-advise that group. Research opportunities. Not everybody is interested in pursuing research opportunities as an undergraduate, and that's completely fine. If you are interested, our faculty have very diverse research interests. So I'll use myself as an example because I'm here. So I'm interested in obviously older adults, informal caregiver research, but also I do a lot of work around health disparity and inequities in rural communities. So I'm doing a lot of work now around vaccine equity and trying to understand what are the challenges people experience, how do we promote vaccine messaging within our rural communities. I was approached by a student who wanted research experience. I brought them on over the summer. They're still working with me on a transportation program I have in Washington County. So, you know, once you learn who faculty are and you can look on the web page at people's pictures and then click what their interests are, you could see if there are opportunities for you to get involved in research. Community service opportunities, of course, through BSWSA and the other orgs listed here. I do a BSW Monday memo every Monday. It goes out to all BSW students, and sometimes other volunteer opportunities are in there as well. We have social media pages. Check them out, join, see what's getting posted, see, you know, what opportunities there are to get involved, get a more informal look at the school and see what's happening. So for some, this may be more relevant in the near future than others. But I will say Ms. Melissa Watterson is your BSW academic advisor, and she is the person you want to meet with the spring term of your sophomore year. So the BSW program is 2 academic years. So you do it in your junior year and your senior year. Okay. For students who are currently at ECU, you would apply by February 15th of your sophomore year. Students who are transferring, they have until June 30th. Okay. And that has something to do with registration. And I'm not going to pretend to know because that is Melissa's area and she's awesome at it. And her information is in here and she can help you with that. But some of the basics are you must have 32 credit hours completed, a minimum 2.5 GPA, and completion of social work 1010 and 2010. So that's kind of, those are introductory courses to diversity and social welfare. Okay. And there are also classes that if you're not sure if you want to do social work, they're good to take anyway. And I believe, and you'll want to check with Melissa, that they would count towards fulfilling some other requirement, even if you're not in the BSW program. So definitely check with her on that. Follow the directions, please. You know, your essay, your personal essay is really important. Complete each question. Go to the writing center. Have somebody you trust who you think writes well review it with you. That's really important because that's where you get to tell us, people who are reviewing the applications, who you are and why you're interested in social work and it's a fit for you. So it's a place for you to shine. This is the last slide. Obviously, I'll take all questions. This is Ms. Watterson's email and her phone number. That's my email and phone number. If you have questions about that are more academic, when do I apply? Can this class transfer? Stuff like that. you're going to want to talk to Ms. Watterson about it. If you have questions about the social work profession or areas that you're interested in, you're going to want to probably give me a shout. So I'm going to stop sharing so that people can chat, and we will take any and all questions that you guys might have.
While we're waiting on questions, and this could be about ECU in general, it could be about application information, it could be about honors college if you want. But we do have a current BSW student here. So this is Peyton. I think I've already introduced her, but she's a current student, so you can ask about student life as well. You know, she's an RA on campus. What else are you involved in?
Any and everything? No. Yeah, I mean, I'm a resident advisor on campus, obviously a senior as well in the BSW program. That kind of takes up most of my time. I also have an off-campus job, but it's not really related. But I mean, anything student related or anything about the program, I definitely have a lot of experience at this point with.
Why did you choose BSW?
Well, originally I was undecided. I think someone asked it.
Have you ever had someone double major in social work in another field? Would it be possible to do that?
Sorry, I didn't realize I muted myself. Yes. So we do have people who occasionally double major. It doesn't happen a lot. That's something that you're going to want to talk to Ms. Watterson about, because you will want to track out, how am I going to accomplish that? Because like I said, in your senior year, in your spring semester, you are in your field placement. Is it 32, at least 32 hours a week paid in?
Yes.
So you basically have a job. You know, so if what we tend to tell students is, just let that be your only class, your, you know, spring of your senior year. It counts as 12 credits, and you have a seminar that's every Monday. So if you're going to do a double major, if you have to take any classes at that point, maybe you'll take one, you know, online course, or maybe you'll take some classes in the summer. It's possible, but meet with Ms. Watterson, track it out.
The other thing I would say about that is it kind of also depends on your career goals. So we have a lot of really good complements and minors and certificate options that you can tack on with your social work degree. So like a really good one is substance abuse. That's a popular one. We have the gerontology minor. We have child welfare. So maybe you want to focus on children and families and work in school systems. So there's different areas that you can kind of plug and play in order to establish and decide what is most beneficial to you. What do you do in the social work program at ECU? Are you asking, Tanya, are you asking a specific person or just an overview? What's the diversity like at ECU and dorms?
I'd say, I mean, it's really, we have a lot of people from everywhere. I mean, I'd say right now, so last year and the year before that, this is my third year as a resident advisor. I lived in primarily freshman dorms, so it was, you know, your incoming freshmen. This year I live in College Hill Suite, so we have like a bunch of transfer students as well and upperclassmen. So I mean, I'd say it's really diverse. I mean, regarding in every way, really. I mean, majors especially. So I'd say it's very diverse.
Dorms. Do you have a favorite one?
Definitely Ballard West or Ballard East.
Those are the newest ones. I'm a two-time grad of ECU, and so I lived in Scott, so I'm a College Hill girl. There's 3 different areas and neighborhoods on campus that you can choose from. Courtney, did you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to add on about diversity, because this is something I present about like every day. So just to put like some numbers behind things too. So about 29% of our student body comes from a minoritized background based on race or ethnicity. We have students from all over North Carolina, so all 100 North Carolina counties, 43 states plus DC, and also it's like 45 different countries or something like that. Or no, I think it's like 70 different countries. So we have people from all over. And then also about 35% of our incoming freshman class on average is first generation. So we define diversity in plenty of different ways at ECU. So definitely people from all over.
And I was a first gen student too, so I can, help navigate that process if it's needed. It's not as scary as it seems, and there's a ton of resources here at ECU to help make sure you succeed. Overview of what you do in the social work program at ECU.
Yeah. I can answer that a little bit. So Tanya, I'm putting a link into the chat. If you go to that link and then you open, I'm looking at it now, the 4-year course plan of study. Something that you should know about our program in terms of overview from classes, and let me know if this isn't answering your question. So we have what are called tiers. So you start that first semester, you take a set of classes. You take classes in research, policy, human behavior. Then your next set of classes in the spring, it's kind of like the next level, and they build on that first set of classes that you took. And then your senior year, your first semester builds on the last set of classes you took, and you take that pre-field class. And then you take the field placement. So what you're learning in the classroom in terms of human behavior, policy, research, practice 1, which is with individuals, practice 2, which is with families and groups, practice 3, which is community practice, you're building your classes. So take a look at that link in the 4-year plan. And you can look the classes up in the undergraduate catalog as well. If you have questions about any classes, you can also send me an email and I could send you information about that. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add, Peyton, from a student perspective.
No, I mean, I will say, like, the buildup, it's definitely nice because you kind of have it like all laid out for you. As long as you're on track, even me, I did have to take a couple summer courses like English and general education requirements. But it's definitely set up in a good way. I don't feel stressed about registration or staying on track with it. So it's very well laid out. And Miss Watterson too is really great at what she does as an academic advisor.
Tanya, I hope that answers your question. If not, keep asking away. What does a day or a week look like for BSW students? Workload of classes, attending classes, and just balancing everything.
So I'll say really it stayed the same for me personally. I typically have like 2 to 3 classes per day. This semester in particular, I have 2 classes per day. They're all in person. Some used to be online, and I think some may still be online. It just depends. I know I took my substance abuse class online, so things like that are more, what do you call those?
Kind of not extracurriculars, but like
electives, your social work electives. Yeah.
Social work electives. But this year or this semester, on Mondays, I have class from 11 to 12:15, and that's my pre-field capstone. And then I have 2 to 3:15, which is my practice 3 class. And that's on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have class, my human behavior, social environment class, from 9:30 to 10:45. And then I have my policy, which is my favorite, from 11 to 12:15. So no classes on Fridays. It's always been that way for me, which I love. Like, who doesn't love a 3-day weekend every weekend? So yeah, I like it. I personally enjoy it compared to other, especially like a nursing major. It's definitely a lot, but we have a good balance here as a student for sure.
And just to kind of add on to that, I'm gonna put an Instagram. Okay, so that is an Instagram username for our ambassadors. Peyton's one of our ambassadors. She's from the social work program, but we have about 9 other student ambassadors for the college as a whole. And that Instagram account you can see like a day in the life of the student. They each do a week throughout the semester. And so it's, you know, going to class, doing homework, studying for exams, going to eat lunch with friends, like going to work, whatever it may be. Everything is, I would say, pretty manageable. As a full-time student, you have to have a minimum of 12 credit hours, and usually your classes are going to be about 3 hours each. So you're taking 4 classes at least a semester if you go the full-time route. So it's, you know, it may sound a little overwhelming, but I promise you it is not, as long as you work on those time management skills like Dr. Schwartz mentioned earlier. Addison, I'm currently a dually enrolled student at RCC Rowan Cabarrus, and if so, I'm from that area. And I plan to graduate with an associate's degree, and many of my peers have transferred for your institutions. If I were to transfer to ECU as a junior, would this complicate the process of application?
Yeah, don't worry. We get transfers. That's why we have the June 30th transfer deadline. You would want to get up with Miss Watterson because 2 reasons. 1, she's your advisor. 2, she can help you with the application process. 3, some of the classes that you've taken can potentially, you know, transfer over as gen eds, general education requirements at ECU. So no, that happens. We have students who apply and transfer. It's all good. You would, I know it's kind of funky because you would apply, I say you apply in your sophomore year, but if you're transferring, the credit hours are a little bit different. So you might look like a junior, but don't worry at all. But definitely reach out to Miss Watterson. She could help you with that.
Dr. Schwartz, do you still have to have an established ECU GPA?
Thank you for asking that question. Yes. So you, let's say you're transferring and you want to start in, well, you can only start the program in the fall semesters if you're accepted. You can apply to the BSW program. Let's say you apply in, I don't know, June. We have summer session 1 and summer session 2 at ECU. You do need to establish that minimum 2.5 GPA. So that's an ECU GPA. Okay. So what Miss Watterson would have you do is she'll see what classes transfer to general education requirements, and maybe you have a hole. Maybe there's a class that you need to take as part of gen ed requirements, and you can take it in the summer. We check grades of our applicants after summer session 1 and summer session 2. So you can establish that 2.5 GPA in time to be able to begin in the fall semester. Addison, that's a lot of information that I just threw at you, but does that seem clear, or do you have questions about that?
And honestly, Addison, if you want, you can go ahead and reach out to Miss Watterson, and she can kind of tell you some classes that you should also be taking at RCC to make sure they transfer appropriately. She's got this really cool, like, plug and play, like almost like a sim situation where you can figure out what will transfer and what won't transfer. And, you know, even if ECU ends up not being your route, we hope it is, of course, but it'll help guide you into some areas that you may want to look into.
I was gonna say that because since I'm already in a dorm where we have a lot of it's called a Quest program, but a lot of the students that are in the Quest program transferred from a community college. But I feel like that's like the #1 thing is they feel like maybe they didn't reach out in time or, you know, ahead of time, because it's always better to do it ahead of time, especially you want to make sure like all of your hours transfer. If not, because it can be a lot, you know, taking summer classes. I know I did English for summer session 1 and it almost ended me. It was hard. I mean, it's more fast paced, so it's all dependent on the person, but yeah, and for the sake of not stressing yourself out too much, the sooner the better.
Maybe.
What's going on?
I was trying to unmute myself, but I couldn't find it. So I put my finger up. I'm going to put Ms. Watterson's info in the chat, and you can take any class that summer. You could take 1,000 level class. You just have to establish that it doesn't have to be, you know, intro to, I mean, I don't want to say anything because some people might think economics is easy peasy. I had trouble with it as a college student, but she'll get you with that. I'm going to put her information in there. Summer sessions are 5 weeks, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so there's 2 summer sessions and then there's the 11-week summer session as well. So there's a couple of different routes. There's 1, 2, and then 11.
You could always also take, and this might be a good idea, if you didn't take the equivalent, so your community college, very likely, I don't guarantee, but oftentimes community colleges have some equivalent of social work 1010 or 2010 that's required. Maybe you have 1010 covered, but not 2010. We offer 1010 and 2010 every summer. So that might be a great class for you to take to establish your GPA and also accomplish because it's required for your application.
Did they just add gerontology as well, like permanent for summer, or was it just for this summer?
Usually Intro to Gero is offered every summer. We had to change the schedule a little bit because of some stuff, but that's always a good class to take. You could take it online and kind of knock that out. And then if you continue on in the BSW program, that counts as one of your electives too.
So keep asking questions really quick. I did want to ask you why you chose social work and why you chose ECU.
So I guess you call it a legacy. My mom went here, my brother and my sister went here. That's one of the reasons, but honestly, it sounds cheesy, but when I came here and I literally walked on campus by myself and pretended to be a student. I felt really awkward, but then I was like, no one's looking at me. But it just felt right. And, you know, as soon as I got accepted, I felt like it was all meant to be. When I started, I was originally undecided, but I come from an adopted family, so I kind of have you know, some experience in therapy, and I also have a relationship with them. And both my birth mother and birth grandmother are social workers, so they kind of introduced me to it. But I did come in undecided. I think it was just through kind of doing some self exploration and also utilizing ECU's website to kind of look at, you know, the course catalogs. I looked at the, you know, School of Social Work website. And that kind of helped me just kind of like direct my path. And it's just a very diverse degree to have if you want to go into anything. So.
And what do you want to do with your BSW?
So I planned on getting originally my master's of social work or in social work. But then I decided to do law because I did have my policy class here in the social work program. I just really fell in love with it and realized making policies and just the whole law part is something that I really enjoyed. So I decided to go into law. So hopefully I'll be applying to law school in the next 2 months. So
We're
yeah.
so excited for her. But yeah. Trying to think what else. Some other things you can be involved on campus. Oh, got a question. What do you find the most challenging about being part of being a student or / BSW?
I would just say like managing your social life and well, for one, since I live and work on campus, it's a little different. So, you know, I'm definitely being a resident advisor is a whole different beast in and of itself. But I think I'm really grateful because, you know, being a social work student, it really hasn't, it's not, you know, like I have friends who are nursing majors and I hear about the stories of that and I see them get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm grateful I don't have to do that. So I think I would just say the most challenging part is always going to be, you know, time management and your organizational skills. You know, having a planner is key and just anticipating a lot of stuff and staying on top of it is probably the hardest.
And I would just add to what Peyton said, something that I tell students is
You muted.
something is going on in your life.
Hold on. Say that over again. You just muted yourself.
So yeah, so if something is going on in your life, tell your faculty immediately, because there have been so many times at the end of the semester, and I always tell people that at the end of the semester, I can't help you that something happened at the beginning of the semester and that you needed extra time on a paper or something, and now your grade was just submitted. So I think that the social work faculty are very clear, very understanding. We're not going to carry you through. We have expectations, but we do realize that life happens. So having that open communication, you know, is really important. And a lot of our students work. So I think Peyton, you know, very well said what you just explained, you know, the time management. I think the next one from Tanya is for you as well.
Is being a BSW student hard or stressful along with other classes?
Well, once you get into the BSW program, you know, you might only have a couple general education classes you have to finish up like I did. So I wouldn't say it's stressful or hard, you know, balancing the two, because typically like your academic advisor is not going to overload you. If you're starting your tier classes for social work, they're not going to, you know, give you all like they're not going to make you do like 18 hours if you can't handle it. So I think, you know, everyone, the entire like faculty, my professors, and I will say, to touch on that, like before joining the social work program, I never had a professor say to me like, you know, we're all social workers, you know, like things happen, we understand, you know, come to me. I never felt like I could do that with my other professors, like general education. Not that it's their fault, but I really feel like that's a big push in the social work program is, you know, being understanding and being flexible and being a social worker. So, I mean, they're just really, my professors are all really awesome and, you know, making me feel like I got this and I can tell them if I don't.
And I would also add, probably like once you get into your junior and senior year, you're going to be primarily in your BSW courses. So you should be enjoying those. You should, you know, be excited to learn. It shouldn't feel like a chore, because if that's the case, you may want to talk to Miss Watterson or whoever your academic advisor is and say, hey, like, I just want to do like a pulse check and be like, is this right for me? Like, you should be enjoying it. I would say that goes for any major. Like, if you're truly struggling in your like final classes for the program, your higher tier classes, maybe do a little self-check and make sure like you're still happy, you want to still go into the career, whatever it may be. So, not to say you're going to love every single class, but a general vibe. So
You're welcome.
I will say too, I definitely think, like, to be fully transparent, this is my hardest semester ever, just because we have a lot more of actually hands-on experience now, right? So since it's my like final really semester, since next semester I'll have like that, what is it, the field seminar. So, you know, I think it's really more about journaling and like, you know, learning from everyone's experience, sharing experience. That might be a little easier because you know, I'm familiar with my internship. I know that that one class will be more so, you know, not as much, you know, schoolwork and research as my classes now might be. But this semester I definitely have a lot of like group projects, which makes it a little easier. But you know, we have to go out into the community, implement some, you know, plans, volunteer. It's really great experience. It's just more so analyzing a lot of, you know, organizations and, you know, coming up with plans to help them with like some of their needs. So it's definitely more hands-on this time around.
favorite part of being in BSW and favorite class so far?
My favorite class is definitely with Dr. Jackson. If you ever have you ever met her?
Yeah.
If you ever have a chance to take a class with her, she's amazing. She has so many credentials, it's insane. But definitely policy, my policy classes for sure. I will also say Dr. Lee. So I had her for both of my research classes, and those, she made me like research, which is weird. I'm not a math person, I'm not a science person, but I feel like with her, you know, she's just a really sweet woman. And I think those have definitely been like my top two classes overall. Even general education, because those are, we don't like those.
Everybody's got to do them then.
Right.
What do you do in seminars?
So I haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
But that'll be like Dr. Schwartz said, that'll be focused around like your internship. So next semester, that's the only class you have, which is on a Monday. I believe it's from
10 to 11:50.
Right, so yeah, like that almost 2 hours you have. They do a lot of journaling in that class, if I'm not wrong. It's kind of
Self-reflection, and so usually, so the field office will group students based on their field placement. So when I've taught seminar in the past, I would often get like students doing gero and macro work. Or sometimes there's more of a child welfare type spin. And you get together Mondays from 10 to 11:50. And, everybody runs their seminar a little bit differently, but it's an open space, safe place where you do what social workers do. You advise each other on what's going on now you maintain confidentiality because that's important. So you're not going to say the person's name and where they're from, but you're going to say, well, there's this client situation and this is how I handled it. Do you think that was right? Or I'm having trouble with my supervisor. But you also do things like you have a journal every week and they give you the information that you have to talk about. Like, for example, what was a major learning moment this week, and they guide you through that. There's a lot of self-reflection. You have to develop your learning agreement, and that's based on each of the competencies provided by the Council for Social Work Education. And you're basically tracking out, this is what I'm going to accomplish during my field placement. And it's an awesome document to have when you apply for an interview, because when they ask you about questions and things you've done and experiences, well, you've got your document right there to help you prepare for that. There are other types of assignments you do, like your field agency presentation. Everybody does one, so you get to learn about what other people are doing in their agencies. And that's important because you all will serve as colleagues for each other. So you're making those connections. So that's a brief overview.
And I'll say, speaking of connections, we have an incredible alumni network who are constantly serving as supervisors for field placements. They're constantly wanting to hire pirate social workers. We even have some that teach on the side if there's a class that we need covered or whatever it may be, who specialize in a certain field or topic. And so we're really fortunate to have like a great alumni network. And I mean, like, unheard of kind of situation. And it's a small community, like it's a profession that somebody everywhere, it feels like. So I will say that's a really cool aspect to see. They're constantly sending me jobs to post on social media, so that's always fun. What other questions?
I mean, I could share my internship. So I will say I'm very, I'm very like grateful for this, but I was able to get an employment-based internship. So it's actually at a domestic violence and sexual assault shelter. So I'll be working as a court advocate. So I mean, that is in and of itself is like a once in a lifetime experience, unless you choose to go into that, particular field. But I think it gives great experience. And I was offered things like Greenville Police Department. I was told I had like A, B, C, D, E all the way down to like G for options. So there's definitely a lot of options. It was something that was probably the most nerve-wracking thing for me, was understanding the whole internship and how that would work and where I would get placed. But I definitely felt like I had some control at least over what kind of field I wanted to go into as far as that. So that's definitely, I think, something other people should look forward to, would be what I would say at this point.
Courtney, while we are, just kidding, we have another question. Since there are so many different things to specialize under the BSW umbrella in school, do you get to learn / gain experience on all the different options?
You want to go ahead? Go ahead,
Sure.
Peyton.
I think coming from a student perspective, you definitely, especially if you get involved, like since I am an HHP ambassador, which I would recommend if you become a social work student, I definitely get to see a lot more if you attend, open house, different events, any kind of like social that goes on. It's definitely a great way to find out, even going to homecoming, like with HHP, we have a lot of alumni that come, there might be people there who worked in the social work field. But I'd say in my practice class, like all of our professors have some sort of experience. So, you get to hear from their experience, they'll tell you, of course, whatever question you ask. But definitely in your practice classes is where I learned the most about, what you could do. And how social work is really everywhere. So I think and like Dr. Schwartz said in the beginning, you go over micro, meso, macro. So like every single different level of social work that you can do. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like Peyton said, for sure. And then within your course content, you're going to learn about various vulnerable, underserved subpopulations. So, in your human behavior class, in your policy classes, you're going to highlight certain kinds of specializations. And so, and your question about gaining experience and learning. So this program is what's called a generalist program, and general, right? So you're getting a taste of everything. So that is the purpose really of one of the main purposes of the BSW program. So yeah, absolutely, Addie. So if you're not sure what population you want to focus on, it's okay. And you can graduate and still not be 100% sure, but you'll have some training there.
And your internship, like if
Yes.
you're doing like a little thing, like you took your gerontology class, you decide, you want to work with the older population, then you could tell your, field placement coordinator that, and they can see, what might be available. So there's definitely a lot of time and resources to figure it all out.
Absolutely. Oh, you are most welcome.
So go ahead and submit maybe some final questions, but Courtney, do you want to go over any like upcoming dates or events that they should be aware of?
Yes. So for anyone who is a senior who's on this call, it is our free application week for ECU this week. This is just something that we're having at ECU. So until Friday, September 29th, you can submit your application for free through Common App, CFNC, or our website. If you do it through Common App, you will just have to select the fee waiver on there, but any of the other platforms will just have the payment option removed and you can just submit your application right on through. We will participate in CFNC free application week at the end of October 16th through the 20th. But if you're interested in going into the honors college, then definitely go ahead and submit your application this week so we can get everything processed in time so that you have time to get everything in before the October 20th deadline. Another important deadline to know is the December 15th deadline. Similar to the Honors College deadline, that is the last day you can apply to ECU to be considered for all other scholarships outside of the Honors College. So really important to keep that in mind. Our freshman application deadline is typically always on April 1st of every year. So that'll be the final deadline for fall of 2024. If you're coming in as a transfer student, those dates do differ based on if you're applying for the spring or applying for the fall, but typically go on a little bit longer than the freshman deadlines will, and those are on our website as well. That's pretty much all that I can think of at the moment, but if anyone has questions, just let me know.
We also have open house October 14th. So come visit us and meet us in person because we would love to meet you. And you can explore campus, check out some dorms, eat some campus food, explore all the things. Even financial aid sessions I think are going on. So I'll send all of this out in a follow-up email tomorrow. And a registration link for open house if you would like to come visit us on campus.
And I'll be there.
Yeah, Peyton will be there. Dr. Schwartz, I think, is going to be there. Miss Watterson will be there for that event. So yeah, you get to come meet us and a bunch of other students and experience campus. So
I'll be
You
there
can see
too.
all of the Sorry.
No, you're good. Good. You can take a campus tour that day too, which is really nice because you can kind of knock everything out that day. But all of admissions will be there, so it's really fun if you want to come join.
And there's lots of freebies. You go to all the tables and get the pens and the this and the that. It's great.
we love it. That's what college is really about. Getting
Yes.
t-shirts. So any other questions? If not, we'll say thank you for coming. We'll probably all stay on the line just for a few minutes if we need any like one-on-one questions or anything like that. But it was great talking to all of you. I'll send all this information out again in the morning, just as a reminder, as well as the link to this recording, if it benefits you. So yeah, thank you all for joining us, and go Pirates.
Go Pirates.